Today, the latest weapons, coupled with the fighting skill of the American soldier, stand ready, on the alert all over the world to defend this country, you, the American people, against aggression. This is The Big Picture, an official television report to the nation from the United States Army.
Since 1942, when the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps was created, women training for service with the U.S. Army have had a number of temporary homes, ranging from Florida to Massachusetts, from Iowa to Virginia. Today, the permanent WAC Center is a cluster of 22 cream-colored buildings in a natural setting of pines, oaks, and sweet gum trees at Alabama's Fort McClellan.
Present arms.
The Women's Army Corps, 12 years after forming, now has an up-to-date home of its own. A score of jobs at home and abroad are today open to qualified WACs, for undeniable proof has been furnished by experience that women can perform many non-combat jobs as well as, and in some cases, better than men. The United States Army has called upon the woman power of the country to strengthen our defensive might at its very foundation.
Hi, my name is Blanche Kelley, and I'm from a little town called Alexandria, Indiana, and it's just down the road a piece. The reason I joined the service, my fiance and I were going to get married at Christmas when he came home on Christmas leave. He came home, but not the way we expected. He got shot down. 6 months later, his sister and I both joined the service. Well, I joined the service in the Army because at that time they gave us a choice of what we wanted, and I wanted the medical field, and my friend, which was very interested in flying since her brother did, she went Army Air Force, which we had at that time, and I went Army Medical Corps. And during basic training, they were shipping the boys to Vietnam. And they called us out one morning, everybody with a valid driver's license, stay, everybody else fell out. 3 days later, we were driving in Washington, D.C., and we were asked for a driver's license. At one time, I had 7 driver's licenses in my pocketbook that we had to carry, driving for the different states around Washington, because we never knew where our passenger wanted to go and what state. But it was rather interesting. They said if we didn't know where we were going, our passenger would know where we were going, and they would give us directions. I drove for Eisenhower, and I drove for MacArthur. I drove de Gaulle when he was here for the NATO detail. I was assigned to him. By the time I was there for a while, the Vietnam War the boys were beginning to come back, so the women got released from the Pentagon Motor Pool, and I was placed in what I enlisted for, the medical field. And I was stationed at the Pentagon for a while, plus the motor pool. Yeah. In the medical field, and I was assigned at the U.S. Army Dispensary in New York City. And then the Vietnam War got a little worse, and I got pulled for recruiting. I always heard the rumors that you're getting stationed close to home, and they said, oh, you're going to Portland. I said, wonderful, I'll only be 43 miles from home. Oh, you're from Maine? I said, Maine? No, I'm from Indiana. But I got transferred to Fort Williams. I was stationed at Fort Williams for a while, and then I got transferred to the Federal Building in Portland. After I was there for a couple years, I got transferred to Forest Avenue, to the recruiting station. And the reason they transferred me is you're only supposed to be in one place no more than 3 years. Somebody down in Washington found out that I had been in Portland, Maine for 10 years, and I had to move. They wanted to know where I wanted to go, so I said, wherever I'm needed. And guess where they sent me? Bangor, Maine. Yeah, and I was there for 4 years, and then I got transferred to the recruiting headquarters. And from recruiting headquarters, I've been there for a couple of years, and they said, gee, somebody checked my record, you've never been overseas. And I said, no, I haven't. Well, where would you go? I said, wherever I'm needed. They sent me to Alaska. And at that time, Alaska was not part of the United States. They had not been made a state. Well, I was in charge of the post office, circulation department, the bank. For recruiting, I was in charge of all the recruiting for the state of Alaska. I had girls, here and there. And I was also in charge, I was the highest ranking female in the state of Alaska, enlisted, and I was in charge of both camps of where the girls were stationed, which I had to go interview and check, make sure they were okay or needed anything, or if something was going wrong to straighten out. It was interesting because I got to see all parts of Alaska, and one of the boys that was stationed there had his own plane, Piper Cub, and he took us up and we flew over the Arctic Circle and around, and I had to visit different military installations and see if check the paperwork and the communications and so forth, that everything was okay. Lots of times if the administration officer wasn't on post, she was off, I had to stay on the post until the individual came back. So I always got to say it was the post commander, the sergeant major, my boss, and then me. Yeah, when I was in Alaska, some of my boys pulled a fast one on me, but it was my own fault. They knew I liked sports and everything, so I wanted to go fishing. They were going to have a 3-day fishing for the military, and we could get a license free. We got all set. The boys got the fishing rod for me, and we went fishing. And of course, the ones that had their wives and everybody was there, and their children was there. And I got out in the water, and the water was up, not quite to my hips. And I cast it out 2 or 3 times, and I think it was about the 4th or 5th time I threw the line out. Down I went. And that fish pulled me for a few minutes, and everybody was laughing up a storm because they knew what was going to happen. I'll have to admit, I laughed too after I got out of the water, but a couple of boys came down and helped me. And my salmon, 42 pounds. Supposed to be there for two years, and I was there for 18 months, and I got transferred back to the Pentagon back into recruiting, and from was there for a couple weeks, and guess where they sent me then? Boston, Massachusetts. So I'm back in New England, and I guess I'm here to stay. I've retired here in Portland, Maine, and I'm still here. Sorry, folks, you had to put up with me. Yeah, being the top recruiter in the United States. The Armed Forces Day, I got to ride in the convertible, and it said, New York presents the recruiter. And my boss was very unhappy because I was from Maine recruiting, not New York recruiting. But it was New York headquarters. That's how they got around it. Top recruiters. I got to represent the Women's Army Corps. And these are the men from the other districts, like 1st Army, 2nd Army, 3rd Army. Oh, that's when I made WAC of the Year. Another one, I made top recruiter in the area. Yeah, maybe we can get re-enlisting. Yeah, for her 4th hitch. Don't lie to them or exaggerate. It gets back. Actually, you tell them the truth and everything, they'll do your work for you. Mm-hmm.
By word of mouth?
That's right, because they're back home on leave. They're going to see their friends, right? You're going to visit your friends, and you're going to tell them whether you like it or not, or whether the recruiter lied to you or so forth. And I wanted to make sure they were happy and got what they wanted. That way, they did my work. I just did the paperwork then. Mm-hmm. Well, I was practically my own, all by myself, on my own. Yeah, they gave me a job to do and to try to do it. There's a bunch, we enlisted 28 seniors, all for the Army. And this was a ceremony we had, their parents and everybody in the background. I get a kick out of this one. Look, the expression on her face. When we checked their weight. That's another group I enlisted. Different awards. That one says outstanding salesmanship. See how we did a little publicity? We had a step ladder to the side so the girls could climb up to get on the Bangor Monument. We just made a radio and television commercials. Jack Benny and the Jane Morgan. It's nationwide. We're celebrating a birthday, WAC birthday, at WCSH. During basic training, there was a couple of our girls had played professional baseball, and I had played baseball. And it was the 1st Army Fort Lee was the first Army champs. We beat them. Basic training. Yeah, here in Portland, I worked at the YWCA and I had a basketball team. And it was our first AAU team. We took them different places. We played in Massachusetts and New Hampshire and took them down to Fort Devens one time. There's a few of my trophies. We had a rod and gun club here in the state. I belonged to that.
Do you remember the day your service ended? What was the last day in the military like?
Very quiet. It was in Boston. Retired there at the recruiting station. And they had a little party for me, but it was a little on the sad side. But there again, I knew I was going to get a chance to relax and travel a little bit. I do have a membership with the American Legion here in Westbrook, and it's a little, almost my age.
Is it true that you're still bowling?
Yep. I'm learning to bowl candle pins. Well, my dog and I walk a mile in the morning and we walk another mile at night.
I think I'm hearing from you that you think it's pretty important to stay active.
Definitely.